guys, we're back with another video on the channel today. In today's video we're going to be looking at a race against TRL Lightning, one of the fastest players on Gran Turismo. I knew he was going to be in the race. He messaged me on Twitter to say he's going to join the race now, so we knew we'd be ending up in the same race. He's starting on pole, I'm starting on third. His qualifying lap is absolutely insane. It was a full second faster than mine. The guy is just on another level when it comes to the qualifying stage of this. The race though, obviously the pace is going to be closer because the fuel has to come into account, so you can't go flat out the whole race. And I'm going to share with you this great race that we had together last night. And this is a really good thing about GT Sport, being the races are only like 10 to 8 laps, etc., 8 to 10 laps. They make for quite entertaining videos to upload to YouTube because they're not too long that you get a bit bored, like some of the iRacing 40-minute videos where you want to include everything but it's a bit long. But these are perfect, about 15-minute lap races. Really good fun, tyre wears in there. Some races you need to pit stop, a lot of fuel saving involved with this race. As you can see, we're already on saving fuel. As you can see there, running level 5 and then down up to 3. You'll see me playing with the fuel power ratio from lean to power constantly throughout the lap. Just bear that into account when you're looking at this, because there's some tips when you're obviously going through the corners. You don't want to be running as high fuel mixture. You can see sometimes I'll want to catch up a bit and get back in the slipstream, so I'll go into a higher setting, and then coming out the corners I might go into a slightly lower setting so I can really get on the power, and then I'll put it into a faster setting. As you can see now, we're closing in on second place. We're top 3 here, very close already. You can see the guy in front, the previous race, had beat me by about 3 or 4 seconds because I got me fuel strategy slightly wrong the way I did it, and I had to save too much fuel towards the end, and I didn't really get the fuel right on that race, but I've learned from that. And then we were in this race with TRL Lightning. I mean, a lot of you guys would have seen him on the leaderboards. Extremely fast driver. I think it would have been a great freeway battle, but there was a little incident. I don't think it was Lightning's fault personally. I think that it was just a racing incident where they came together. You're going to see it in a bit anyway. As you can see now, we're going down the back straight, all 3 of us. We can see all the cars still racing fairly clean. You can see it was a really nice start. No real crashes at the start. A lot of people still lying astern there. You can see a lot of battling going on. This is obviously a top split race, and the competition's really strong. Some of the people are obviously a little bit closer than they should be. I think they were pit stopping, which was the wrong strategy for this track. It was all about saving fuel this track. As you can see there, we got really close to second place there. Lightning ran very, very wide out of that corner and made himself a little bit vulnerable going down the straight now. As in second place there, he's going into this first corner now, and he's going to have the inside line, which was Lightning, I would have thought. I think he wanted to defend it, but he didn't really have the opportunity. Stayed wide, and you can see there, losing the back end, second place slightly, and he's going down the inside. He doesn't really give Lightning any space, and he loses it before he actually loses the rear end without even touching Lightning. So that was nothing to do with Lightning. This is the first time I've seen this back, and you can see there, nothing to do with Lightning's fault. That was actually second place, losing the rear end and sliding off all on his own. So this leaves us now just myself and Lightning in first and second, and I've got someone in third place there, very close as well. Although I think we do actually drop them guys, as I don't know if they were pit stopping or what, but you can see a lot of British in this, and it was a really good race, and really enjoyed this race. And this is why I really like Gran Turismo at the moment, because the racing's clean. It's making use of my PS4 Pro that I've hardly used recently. I'm not running the graphics setting, I'm actually running the frame rate setting to improve the frame rate slightly over the standard version. You can see now, staying to the side, you can see what I'm doing with the power. I'm not going to 1 ever when I'm coming out of the corners, and then when I get out of the corner on the acceleration, then I put it to 1, use a bit of the acceleration that the full power setting gives you, and then normally towards the end of the straight I'll put it back, say there, to 2, and then save a bit of fuel. And then going into the corners, we're going to save as much fuel. I could have probably gone to 5 through these corners. I should have gone to 5 really, because there's just no need for the power through these corners. But then unfortunately it's really tricky on my steering wheel because I have to use a direction pad while steering. So from mid corner I'm tapping away with the direction buttons while trying to get the power down so I don't lose speed on the straight there. If I had the new Thrustmaster wheel, I believe it's got a dial setting on it, it would be so much easier to use. But it's perfectly functional with what I'm using at the moment. Going through the really fast 180R there, great corner in these cars. You couldn't take it 100% flat, you had to just give it a little bit of a lift. Down into second gear, I've just recently got this corner sorted. Brake balance, I think I was running it on 3 towards the rear for anyone that wants to know for this GR4. I will have a track guide coming for this GR4 car around here soon. Our lap time that we managed was a 2 minute 7.4, I think it was. it actually squeezed me into the top 10. That was quite late at night. Whether it stayed in that top 10, I'm doubtful. It would have been very close though. So I mean, it just shows you how fast Lightning's time was. It was a 2 minute 6.4. I think the closest to him was nearly half a second behind when I seen it. It's just an insane lap. And I actually watched his lap before, about an hour before we did this race, and that's how I got my lap a bit faster as well, because one corner I noticed on his qualifying lap was this corner. He stayed really tight to the right hand side and then allowed himself a wider angle to get on the power there, and it really did help me out. I started improving my lap and consistency there through that corner. You can see we were saving fuels, I think, in different positions. I'm sure he was saving fuel as well, but I think it was slightly different positions maybe, and maybe different ratios to where we were saving. You can see I was on 3 through there, both using all the track on the outside there to give ourselves maximum speed going into the tight left-hand hairpin here. And this is a corner I couldn't really work out whether to go wide or tight. I did prefer taking that line there tight, keeping it on tight, getting on the power really early. You can see none of us are really like closing or pulling away at this stage. It's a really tight race, and even third place he's holding on there. He's only 1.3 seconds or 1.4, something like that, behind us. He's managed to hold on to our rear end really well and stay with this battle. You can see there's quite a few cars still very close, although I think some of them other cars do end up pitting, so they're probably running maximum power all the way through the race and then pitting, etc. Whereas myself and Lightning, we were saving fuel all the way. I think third actually did go without pitting, but he might have been using a lot more fuel at the start of the race to try and stay with us a bit more. You can see there in the distance there, it's reasonably close still. You've got all on the straight, there's at least 6 or 7 cars there on the straight after lap 3. So Lightning actually pulled away a bit through that section there, although I think I did this corner reasonably well and managed to get a little bit of a pull out of the corner. I went to 1 fuel, I believe here. I probably would have gone to 1. Let's see if I can put it onto 1 or stay on 2. Yeah, put it to 1 just to try and get, you can see there the distance there is 1.3 seconds away from me. So I wanted to bring that back in a bit, and hopefully, I think one of the corners I was doing quite well was this corner now. I'm really consistent in the racing conditions of doing this corner, using the full width of the track, getting it down into third gear and then getting on the power early. So you can see there we managed to close up very slightly on Lightning there. Really great fun races. This is the type of races I really enjoy. I don't want to be out in the lead dominating. I want to be chasing and sticking with the fastest guys, and it's really satisfying to see that I could actually do that on this track. Although this is a track that tends to be okay for myself in terms of race pace. Some of the tracks haven't been as good, I've been lacking some, but that's more so to do with practice. For tracks like Bathurst, etc. I've never really done much racing there, so it's just a case of more racing I do, the more consistent I'll get at these other tracks, and also strategy. I think there's a lot of strategy that certain tracks require to other tracks, so it's just about learning them. I've got a lot of the tracks sorted in Nürburgring. I've got a great GR3 race to upload to my channel as well, and another GR4 race, so we've got plenty of content to come. I'm just trying to get it all edited as much as I can. I want to try and bring out a daily video at least on GT Sport, and obviously throw in the Project Cars videos as well, and obviously the Assetto Corsa when we get a chance. Obviously Assetto Corsa is a bit older now, so we're going to prioritise GT Sport over anything because it's a game I'm enjoying. I'm finding it a lot of fun. The racing's great fun, especially when you get into these top tier races where everyone's like either an A rated or an S rated driver, and they've got their safety rating all on S. You can just tell by how clean the racing is. And this was a really great battle. The last lap was absolutely insane. It got really close, and I can't wait for you guys to see how close it actually got. And you can see there Lightning ran a bit wide there, and I was tempted to go round the outside there, but there's not much point because you don't get the inside for this line then, and you're in the wrong position. You can't really do much anyway, because as long as they've got the power, the ability to put the power down, they're going to get a pull out of that straight. So I chose to just stay, brake early, get into his slipstream and stick there, because there's no point making any rash decisions on this game. It's something I see a lot of people doing. They'll just see a gap and they're like, oh, I'm going to dive bomb that, and they end up wiping themselves out and another person. Always think of the long run in these races. They're 8 lap races. There's no point trying to win the race on lap 1. You know, there's chances someone might make a mistake. There's a lot to play for. You want to keep your safety rating up there. You want to keep your driver rating going high, so you get into the races like this. You know, the higher you get your rating, the races are going to become more like this for you. I have noticed how much better the races have got as I've improved my safety rating, etc., and my driver rating, higher you get, this is the type of racing you're going to get into more often. As you can see, we got really close to Lightning there. I think we were running a slightly higher fuel, maybe as we went up that straight. He might have been saving a bit more fuel than us, he might have run a little bit wide, I'm not too sure. As you can see there, we're actually running 5 now through these corners, and I'm going to have to put it up because I can see you got to really pull out, a good pull out of that bend. So it's constantly changing how you want to drive it. I was trying not to use the full fuel mixture as much as possible where I didn't need to, because you want to save your level 1, which I'm in now, for this straight sometimes, the back straight and the start finish straight. That's where you're going to lose a lot of time if you're not running it. So I tended to use it there, then put it into 2, so I wouldn't be using it at the top end now where you're going to use a lot of fuel. So then going into this corner, really tricky corners. Sometimes I know when I was on the time trial I was clipping the curb and on the brakes and it was just spinning me out, but we got it sorted. And I think I could have maybe have crept into a late 206 if I would have gone on to the time trial after obviously doing a few races, but we just stuck to the racing. As the position I was in, it was top 10, so I was in the top 3 for pretty much every race I was driving in, and for me that's okay because I know my racing is pretty good on this game. I've got the consistency, I've got the speed to stay with some of the faster drivers, and that's all you really want to do. You want to aim, I just try to aim for top 3 in every race, because then I know my driver rating is constantly increasing. Already we're extremely close to that S-Class license, so it won't be long before I think we get the SS all round, and then we can start competing in some of the, hopefully when the tournaments start and that, it'll be open to S only, so that's when it'll get interesting. As you can see now, lap 6, and we're still within a second of Lightning. He ran us a little bit wide there, and I think I spotted that and just wanted to try and get a bit closer to him. These corners, these are the corners you really want to be saving fuel, and even though you're going uphill, you're not going to, there's just no need to run that full power setting here, so you want to save as much fuel as you can during these stages of the lap, and save it for them straight. So sometimes I did use it a bit more here. This is the power setting now where I go up a bit because we're going uphill, and it's a real power zone. So you can see I put it just a little bit more power onto that fuel mixture there. Going into these corners, back down again to level 4, you can see there to save a bit of fuel. As you can see, we're getting really close to the rear of Lightning now. Great battle, as you can see in the top corner there with the replay camera active in that top right hand corner there. Great racing going on. You can see the gaps going quite a bit bigger now between ourselves and third. You can see they're just coming into the shot there now, third place. So there's a nice gap we've built up there between anyone behind us. So we really were pulling in. There was actually a fair few S-Class, pretty much there was no one else other than S or A-Class driver within this race. So you can see the speed that we're carrying here, considering a lot of the other guys will be pitting as well, and we're not pitting. It's not a track you need to pit on, with it only being 8 laps and corners that you can really save fuel on. There's just no need to pit. But you can see Lightning got a little bit loose coming out of that curb. That curb was a real tricky curb. It caught me out a couple of times. You really had to be ready on that steering wheel to catch it if anything went. So going into the 180R now, and again this is a real tricky corner if you got close to someone, because it kind of distracts your line going into the corner. So I was trying not to push it too hard there, just keep it on the track. With obviously using lower fuel mixtures, it wasn't as hard as when you're running the full power setting, and we really did that corner well there, the chicane, and managed to get really close to Lightning down this straight. I was tempted to go to 1 right at the start there, but I thought I'll stay in 2, stay in his slipstream, try and save fuel for that last lap, and try and use a bit more of the fuel to see if we can really mount the challenge going into the last lap. So 2 laps to go now, and again look at the distance, we're within a second of Lightning. This is a great battle. Lightning, very good clean race, and he runs wide again on that corner. Notice he was doing that a few times, and it was gaining me a little bit of time through these tricky S bends, as you can see there. I really enjoy these corners, real flowing corners, technical stuff that you really have to do a lot of lift and coast, bite it into the apex, and really get on the power as early as you can, especially this corner where you've got to get on the power early, get to the apex, and then keep the power down. You can see there we used all the track, got onto the curb there. I had to up it. I could see his car pull away a bit there, where I know he must have used a bit more fuel mixture to gain a bit of speed down up that straight there. Real tricky corners again, these two, where you run the risk of running wide, and if you run wide on any of them corners, you will be out the race, because it will just wipe you onto the gravel. You'll stop dead, and it'll be 10 to 15 seconds you'll lose. So going into the tight hairpin, again really close now to Lightning's rear of his car. I wanted to try and stay as close as I could, so again putting that fuel to 1 for the straight, trying to stay within the slipstream and gain as much as we can down the straight and stay with him for the corners. It's a real tricky corner to actually stay with him there, because you're coming out the hairpin and you're getting on the power, and it's very much a yo-yo effect as you come out of that corner. Now this corner, again, another tricky corner, because you want to put the power down, but you just got to be so careful before you do it fully there. As again, Lightning runs a little bit on the curb. We managed to keep it on the track, but he got a really fast exit out of that corner actually there, so using all the track Lightning and actually keeping himself really safe from that corner. Going into the 180R again, and again this is a real tricky corner. See, using all the track there, both of us pushing a little bit harder now as we know we're coming into that last corner, wanting to get as close to his car as possible through these corners now. Real tricky corner though, because as you attack them curves you want to get on the power, but you put it down too early and you run wide. So you can see very close there. I wanted to go to level 1 there, you can see straight into level 1 to try and use all the power we can now for this last lap, where we want to attack and try and get ourselves in position. I knew at this point I wasn't going to be able to make a move, so I started saving fuel now, because I thought there's no point while I'm in the slipstream there trying to get too close, because I'm going to end up losing time. I wanted to stay around this distance so that when it comes to an overtaking position I can use that maximum fuel and try and mount an attack. So going through these S-bends for the last time now in this race, you can see how close it is. Tyre wear's kicking in, you can see our tyres in the bottom left hand corner there, where it's showing you the wear that's taking place, and fronts are really starting to wear out now. As you can see, they're starting to lose that front end grip, so you're getting a little bit of understeer. This is where I was trying to use a lot more of the lower fuel settings through the corners, because obviously if you're running one now, as we're coming down the left hand side, there's not much I can do there. I just wanted to give him to make it tighter, a tighter entry for Lightning there, so it compromises his exit a bit, but he does it really well. He gets a really nice exit anyway. And again, we need to just try and get in that slipstream again, as we've lost a bit of time, but we're going to push as hard as we can now going into these last corners. So braking really late, you can see how late we broke there as we caught up a little bit. Accelerating hard again, the back end giving up a bit with the grip starting to fade away, and putting the power setting down to 2, because I wanted to save this last bit of fuel, because I wasn't sure how close we were. 0.5 laps of fuel left. I wanted to make sure I can use 1 down the back straight, so saving again, and then we're going to go to 1 for this back straight. I think we did. I think we put it down to 1. We might have even changed mid-corner to a higher setting, as you can see there, changing it as soon as we can. You see there, before we get on the power fully there, onto 1, and we're in the slipstream now. This is where we're going to mount our last attempt of attack. You know, this is coming into the final corners of the race, and you can see there we're in 1. I think he's actually saving a bit of fuel. I started saving fuel now because I knew I couldn't make an attack, so I didn't want to run wide. And again, he runs wide there. We've got the outside line where I can brake a bit late and try and get the inside for the last part of the thing. You can see there we brake very late. Look at the top right hand corner of the replay, we're on the left hand side, but I can't put the power down because I know that Lightning's on that outside, and if I put the power down I'm just going to take him out. So we just basically settled for second place, and an absolutely brilliant race. Really enjoyed that. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you guys will come back for more races like this soon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back with more of these videos very soon.